Hey geeks, welcome to Geek Speak TV. I am your host, Patrick Henry. This is for the show week ending 8/20/2017. Again, this is a very heavy, spoiler-intensive type show, which is why we wait until the end of the week, Thursday-ish, to do it, so that way we give our fans a chance to watch all this stuff and get caught up before we ruin it for you. So let's just jump right into it. So let's talk about the weekend box office for August, the week ending August 20th. Opening at number 1 is The Hitman's Bodyguard, which is an action comedy starring Samuel L. Jackson and Ryan Reynolds. The movie is about a hitman who needs a bodyguard to keep him alive long enough so he can testify in court. Falling to number 2 is Annabelle Creation at $15.6 million in the second week. Opening at number 3 is Logan Lucky, which is a movie starring Channing Tatum, Adam Driver, and Daniel Craig about two brothers who are going to pull a heist during a NASCAR race. Dropping down to number 4 at its 5th week at the top 5, Dunkirk at $6.6 million. And dropping down number 5 is The Nut Job 2, The Nutty by Nature, at $5 million in its second week. Defenders premiered on Netflix this past week. It is an 8-episode miniseries combining Luke Cage, Jessica Jones, Iron Fist, and Daredevil as the Defenders, taking on The Hand, which is led by Alexandria, who's played by Sigourney Weaver. To tell you the truth, this was really slow to start. I felt like the first 4 episodes really could have condensed into one episode. There was a lot of getting to know each other and filling each other out. And then finally, in episode 4, the Defenders come together and start to... action, actually, with fight scenes finally happen in the beginning of episode 4 and episode 5. Iron Fist and Daredevil seem to be the stars of the show, as their storylines and characters may have the most time on screen. Luke Cage and Jessica Jones play support roles, as do the Daredevil Iron Fist sidekicks Colleen, Foggy, and Karen Page. Luke Cage's Claire is also around a lot. One thing I did notice is the presence of more female henchmen, something that we really haven't seen that often. They really didn't make that much big of a difference in the fight, but usually in a male-dominated role, there was some female henchmen I saw in there trying to kick some Defender butt. It didn't work out too well for them, though. As of right now, is there going to be a Defenders 2? Probably not. The way the show ended up, all the Defenders did survive. However, they can kind of go off into their respective shows now, except for Iron Fist. Iron Fist is kind of one of the weaker characters that I don't know if he even needs another Netflix show. I know that Punisher is coming out pretty soon, so maybe instead of one, we can have another. But Marvel TV VP Jeff Loeb, as of Comic-Con, says, as of now, no. For you comedy geeks, Jerry Lewis died on Sunday, August 20th, at the age of 91. He was born in New York in 1926. A difficult man in his later years, marred by scandal involving his charities. Lewis was best known for his off-the-wall slapstick comedies, playing characters like Cinderella and The Nutty Professor. One of my favorite movies was a role that he played in Slapstick of the Third Kind. It was a weird comedy starring Madeline Kahn, Marty Feldman, even Pat Morita had a role as a Chinese ambassador. It's a really funny film, I thought. It's about two alien siblings who were the dumbest children when they were apart. Once you put them together, they were the smartest creatures in the universe. Jerry Lewis was 91. For video game Overwatch geeks, there is a season ends, so season 6 begins, and there's been some changes. The developers recently released a Facebook video talking about the new changes and updates to the gaming system. Most notably, it's going to be a 2-month instead of a 3-month season this time around. In beta testing, it was only 1 month long, and they thought that was not enough time to give competitors a chance to get the level they deserved. 3 months seems to be a little bit too long, as players weren't taking the end of the season that seriously or weren't playing as much. Another big change is there are going to be more points to this per win given in Season 6, as well as tweaks for decay. Instead of decaying after 7 games, you only have to play 5 games to prevent decaying per week. And instead of 50 decay points, you're getting hit with 25 decay points. Control maps are also being changed. Instead of best of 5, it's now a best of 3 to shorten some of those matches. And also placement is going to be a little more accurate as to your true placement level. Placement before, they would place you a little bit below your skill level and allow you the opportunity to work into your appropriate level, but they felt like they was doing a disservice to some of the better players. There's also going to be stricter matchmaking rules, so higher level players and more skilled players will not be ranked with lower level players, which means there's going to be a longer wait time for games. However, you should see a better quality of game happening, according to the developers. Star Wars Last Jedi news. There's been some promo images released of Kylo Ren and Snoke, Supreme Leader Snoke. Take a look at that. A lot of online hubbub has been that Snoke looks a lot like Gollum from Lord of the Rings, and you can kind of see the similarities there. Needless to say, First Friday is on September 1st, 2017. That's the day you can go up to the retailers and pick up your Star Wars The Last Jedi toys. Make sure you bring your money. And The Last Jedi releases in theaters this year, December 15th, 2017. Ozark is a TV show on Netflix. If you haven't seen it, and you're a fan of Breaking Bad and Arrested Development, has nothing to do with those two, but it kind of has the feel of them both. Season 1 is available now and stars Jason Bateman along with Laura Linney. The show doesn't start off slow at all, and by the end of the first episode, you're wanting more. Bateman plays the accountant, Marty Bird, a genius with numbers but a really bad judge of character, as his partner is caught robbing the cartel. At gunpoint, Bird comes up with the idea of being able to wash enough money to set the cartel straight, as well as open new businesses to triple the amount of money they was able to launder before by moving to the Ozarks, which has more coastline than California. Sometimes shocking, sometimes funny, a little sexy and weird. What is the legal drinking age in Missouri anyhow? There's a lot of underage drinking in this show. Anyhow, one of the things that I love most is that every show seems to start off with some sort of graphic that gives you clues as to what's going to happen in that episode. Around the 4th or 5th episode, I was able to kind of piece things together as the stories progress and look at the clues and kind of say, hey, I think this might happen. It kind of reminds me of that video game Until Dawn. If you haven't played it, play it. It's kind of cool. 10 episodes long, the last ending on a cliffhanger. I can't wait to see Ozark Season 2 on Netflix. It's a definite must-watch. Game of Thrones time. Spoilers! So a lot of people are talking about the relationship between Arya and Sansa and what exactly is going to happen there. Nobody really knows. In this episode, Sansa is suspicious of Arya, and Arya straight out comes out and she's reminiscing over looking at the courtyard and tells Sansa that she knows that she wrote a note to Robb asking him to bend the knee for her beloved Joffrey. Sansa then goes in to start snooping around her room and finds a bag with some of her faces in it. And Arya challenges her to a game of faces and says it doesn't really turn out very well for the last person who wanted to play Game of Faces. She flat out tells Sansa that she betrayed her family and that she saw her on the execution block, and Sansa doesn't back down and she tells Arya that she did all she could to survive. It's left on a weird kind of cliffhanger. Sansa confronts Littlefinger about Arya and the note. She doesn't want the Northern Army to leave, and Littlefinger mentions that Lady Brienne is sworn to protect her and Arya. But then Sansa sends Lady Brienne away to King's Landing when she receives a raven inviting her down there. Which is kind of weird because who or why do they want Sansa there, and where did that letter come from all of a sudden? Tyrion presses Daenerys for information on who she has in mind for succession, but she says that she can no longer have children, and that's why her dragons are her children. And Tyrion wants to make sure that all her work doesn't come undone with a stray arrow. As he says, when she went into battle, hundreds of arrows flew at her, and any one of those could have hit her and ended the whole campaign. She's kind of upset with Tyrion and accuses him of thinking a little bit too much about her death. And so Tyrion, of course, backs off. Because, in all honesty, I think Tyrion does love her and would never do anything to betray her. But then again, he is a Lannister, so who knows. The party north of the Wall. That's an interesting little group of people that get up there. You have the Barbarian, you have the Dead Knight, you have the Ranger, you have Jon Snow. Gendry was called out for his whinging for being sold to the Red Woman by some of his party members. Exactly what is whinging? Jon Snow, in typical Jon Snow fashion, offers Longclaw Black to Geralt Mormont, saying that it was intended for him, it's his sword. Geralt says that he betrayed his family and sullied his name and forfeited his right to the sword, so Longclaw belongs to Jon Snow and his sons to come in the future. The big complaint about this episode was the amount of time it takes for things to go from the Wall to East Vale, and then Dragonstone, and then back again. It doesn't make any sense at all. One of the things that I do want to remind people when they watch Game of Thrones is that it is a TV show, and suspension of disbelief is something that kind of has to happen in this, because, I mean, you're dealing with White Walkers, which are zombies made of ice, and you got direwolves, which don't exist, and you've got dragons, which really don't exist. So, again, you kind of have to relax on the fact that it might have taken Gendry 6 hours to run back from their location to the wall to get help. Party's trying to steal one White Walker to take back to the meeting at King's Landing to show Cersei that there's a bigger war at stake. The guys get trapped on an island when things go awry, and so they send Gendry running back to the wall to get help, which they specifically say Daenerys is the only one that can come help us. So Gendry runs back to the wall in sprint-like fashion, gets a raven to Daenerys, and Daenerys hops on her dragon and comes down to save the guys' butts just in time as the White Walkers are approaching on the little piece of rock that happens to be in the middle of this frozen lake. Unfortunately, Viserion the dragon doesn't make it out of this battle. The Night King's got quite a throwing arm on him and takes his ice javelin and pierces Viserion in the side, and he goes down hard into the ice lake and closes his eyes and disappears. People were screaming and crying and going nuts when they saw this. I know I was in shock watching this happen. Poor Daenerys, you just see the pain in her eyes, and everyone, the first thing Jon says when he wakes up is how so sorry he is for bringing Daenerys down in getting one of her children killed. But now that she's seen it and she believes it, she's willing to go to war with him, and Jon Snow, of course, is willing to call her his queen after she's saved his skin, and he should, rightfully so. She does see the scar on his chest, however, so that's going to be something left to be seen as to if she dresses it or not, but I don't see what the big point is. He's alive, he's breathing, move on. So this is the last show of this season, and the teaser leading up to the season, basically I'm going to call it as being extremely boring, and it's going to be upsetting to a lot of fans. But again, this is a huge chess game, and all the pieces have been moved around the board, and this is the final meeting, I think, before next season, which should be pretty action-packed in the beginning and then trail off into the wrapping up of the show. But don't expect much next week, I would say. I think that the things that they showed were exactly the most exciting things that are going to happen, which were armies lining up and getting ready to fight, but they're not actually going to fight once they produce the White Walker for Cersei. She's going to see that it's a real threat, there's a war coming that has nothing to do with thrones or Iron Thrones, and they're going to leave it at that as the armies join up and they're going to go fight against the White Walkers. That's just my speculation, to be honest. I don't know what's going to happen. But we are going to see an ice dragon, because at the very end of the episode, the big-ass chain company from north of the wall gets the call to pull out the ice dragon and his pretty big blue eyes. It's going to be amazing. I don't know if he's going to breathe fire. It'd be kind of cool if he breathes ice. That'd be something to see. Overall, I loved it. I'm excited about this season of Game of Thrones. It's been really action-packed. A lot of people have been upset about the writing, saying that it's because Martin hasn't written these books yet that the writing has suffered. But again, I think they're condensing the show, they're wrapping it up, and they don't see the need to draw out long conversations about what's going on. It's pretty much action-packed through and through. I've enjoyed it. I can't wait to see it. Thank you guys for watching. Make sure you subscribe to our channel. Let us know what you think, and send us ideas for future reviews. We're going to be bringing back some of our movies you gotta catch. And go to our website, geekspeak.tv, where we have articles being posted about the latest things going on in the geek world. Thank you guys again for watching. You guys have a good night. See you next week.